Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the MLS 11 rollout training. And this is RJ Johnson with SFAR MLS support. We've got Andrew here and also our friends from Rapattoni, Wyatt Jackson and Felipe Martinez will be leading the training shortly. So get settled in. We will be taking questions in the Q&A section, not in the chat. And there will be opportunities for those to be addressed through the course of the presentation. And again, welcome on board and welcome to the future of the MLS. We'll be starting shortly.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Felipe Martinez, and with me is Wyatt Jackson. And we also have a few others from Rapattoni. We have Dustin Daigle and Vanessa Barrientos. And today we're going to be walking you through the new MLS 11 workflows, all the nice features, and we're going to show you how to utilize the MLS 11 functions and features with the Search View Act functions. And as we're going through the webinar, please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A chat. Myself, RJ, and Andrew will be monitoring the Q&A chat. And Wyatt will also be stopping after each segment, asking if there's any questions, and then we'll answer your questions during the topics we're covering. And at the very end, if there's time, we'll definitely cover a full Q&A section, open it up to anybody who has any additional questions. But other than that, go ahead and kick it off, Wyatt.
Awesome. Let me share the screen here. Make sure that the MLS is displaying. Can you see that clearly?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
Awesome. Thank you guys again for coming. And as Felipe said, we are going to be stopping. And when I jump to a new section, it's going to cover new info, different than kind of what I viewed and covered prior. We'll make sure to try to touch on those questions. If there is a question that touches on something in an upcoming section, Phil will let me know. So we'll make sure to get everything addressed. All right. For MLS 11, I know this has been a change for some of you guys. I want to make sure that change is nice and easy. Make sure every kind of workflow, muscle memory action that you're doing throughout your workday is guided and show you how convenient a lot of these features are. To kind of stress the convenience and time saving of MLS 11, MLS 11 is tied into your searches just directly, no matter where you run your search. We go up to our searches, our saved searches, we make a new search, even our recent searches. If there's a search that you're running every day, it's the only search you use throughout your workday. It does not matter how you approach the search or access the search. If I just run a recent standard search that I've already ran prior, you will be taken directly into the MLS 11 search view. Right away, the big feature of MLS 11 is going to be all of your search results. Right now we have 73. So in the old MLS system, you would have to go between page 1 and 2 and bounce back and forth between the search results. That is no longer the case with MLS 11. MLS 11 search results are now one continuous scroll. You have a scroll bar here on the right-hand side of the screen. You will no longer have to page through your results. I do want you guys to know that no matter how many results you do pull up, it will be one continuous result bar, so you no longer have to bounce back and forth between the different pages. Another big change and visual difference that you'll see immediately on the search results is going to be the action pane on the right-hand side of the screen. This action pane, I'm going to highlight it with my mouse here. We're going to go over it. This is going to be present throughout this whole presentation. No matter what part of the screen I'm on in the MLS 11 search system, you will see this action pane here. These action items will be available to you. They may slightly change and vary depending on what page I'm on, but the action pane as a whole will always be present, and you will see the options present on here, like tax record information, for example. You will see multiple places throughout the system as we go through. That's meant to be there for convenience. It's meant to save you time and clicks. You will see repeating options, and that is done with intention. And we're going to point out why as we go through this, but action pane will always be present for you on your search results. It's going to give you quick access information like the tax record. You're going to be able to view agent office info, email the listing and selling agent. However, I do want to point out, since this search was ran on the status of active, there is no sold listings on this search. The email selling agent will be grayed out because there is no selling agent currently. The system automatically knows this and it will gray out that option. You can quickly view history from the action pane. You can view the neighborhood report. You can view these listings on a map, post to social media, find comps, view the public link to access the listing outside the MLS. You can schedule a showing, add to prospect. You can add to folder, remove the listing. A lot of our members like to run CMAs. They ask us where the CMA and market condition reports are, the CMA package, the CMA one lines. Those are all going to be available in the CMA section here under CMA reports. You can run statistics, exports. You can make a presentation package. You do have access to all your third-party links down here on the right-hand side. If there is a feature that I just covered that you use a lot, you might not want to scroll down, find where it is in this action pane every time you load a search. There's a way to favorite these action items, keep them at the top of the action pane so you don't have to scroll through and find them. To do that, we're going to go directly above the action pane. So this right here on the right-hand side, above it, there's these little square options. We're going to touch on the star. Star is the action pane favorite settings. We're going to select the favorite settings. This is going to bring up all those action items I just covered are now going to be available in this available action list. For example, if we go down and for some reason I always want to make a lot of CMA packages in my workday, I can hit this plus icon next to the CMA option. If I want to run statistics a lot, I can select the statistics option. If we want to copy public links, we can copy this as well. It's going to move them over to the right-hand side under favorites. You select save on the bottom right. It says your changes have been saved. The search will refresh. What just happened? What did I just do? Why did the search refresh? We look back at the action pane on the right-hand side. You're going to see the favorites section is now appearing. You have the ability to set any of those action items below as a just static, always at top under the favorites. So if there's something that you're constantly going in, using, clicking, selecting, maybe you're always viewing, prospect carts, you're always viewing it on the neighborhood report, you can add whatever you would like via the favorite star on the top of the action pane. That's what that feature does. It's just to kind of really curate and make sure this is tailored to what you need. The next feature to the right of the favorite star is the hide unchecked listings. This in the search results. Let's say I run my search. I have 73 results. I really want to compare these on the grid just quickly side by side in a tactile view, but I really want to look at the top two. Maybe I scroll down through the results. I see a listing I really like in the center that I want to compare. And maybe all the way at the bottom. Let's say we want to take a look at these bottom two, and I want to see these side by side. But I'm not going to sit here and scroll all the way back up, find where I checked it, find the top ones, and then compare them that way. All I have to do is check the ones I want to compare and then go to the eyeball in the top right above the action pane, select the eye. It's going to remove, or excuse me, it's not removing them from the search, it's going to hide them from the search. So your other search results are still there. They're just hidden, and it's only going to display the ones that you check. So this is a quick way that you can view on a grid just what you have checked side by side, no matter where they are in the search results. This is a very convenient way to do quick side-by-side comparisons. It is that show unchecked and hide unchecked option above the action pane. So if you just deselect the eyeball, we'll uncheck that box, all your search results will reappear. The next item to the right on top of the action pane, you'll see 3 little lines. It will say set how the listings are sorted. This allows you to change the sort of your results. Right now, I have it set sorted by status and price. You can set it up to 3 items, and there is many items that you can sort by. You select the dropdown, you have the ability to sort the results by any of the available options present. You can then change it to ascend or descend, so you can really tailor the search results to sort how you would like. We'll close that out. Here on the right of that, at the top right of the action pane, you have the find text feature. This functions similar to the find feature in the browser. A lot of people use it on Google Chrome. It's the Control F feature. People will search through web pages, or Command F if you're on a Mac. This, however, functions a little different, as it only searches within the grid information that you're seeing here on the screen. So if I want to find a subtype description, let's say you know it's one of your columns on your grid, you want to look for attached subtype descriptions, or anywhere the word attached appears. Here, you're going to see that I entered attached. I hit enter. In the center of the grid, it will highlight in yellow anywhere the word attached appears. So I can do a little tab down on the arrow on the upper right-hand side, and you'll notice that the orange box where my focus is will move down the search results, and it will find anywhere that attached is present. So this is a quick way for you to scan surface level information on the grid. This is not going to look inside the listing detail. It's just going to scan the text that's on the top of the grid here. But that's what that find feature does, this little magnifying glass, this find text. Anything you type in, text, numeric numbers, codes, anything that's appearing on this grid here will highlight, and you can quickly tab through those results. We're going to close that back out, scroll back up. And the final item on the right of the grid is the zoom in, zoom out feature. This allows you to change the zoom size without affecting the zoom of your whole browser. If I hit the zoom in arrow, it can actually make the text bigger. So for me, I have terrible eyesight. This actually makes it a lot easier for me to read. You can zoom in and really sort the grid to visually be how you want it to be. And if you want more information on the center of the screen, you can actually zoom out farther than 100% and make it really textile. So the freedom is up to you of how you want this to be. But that is going to be done on the top right. The zoom feature, it's a little magnifying glass with a plus icon. The next item I want to touch on is the grid itself. We've been looking at the action pane, what it can do with the grid, but I do want to touch on the grid itself. This is right here. Right now, you're kind of running on this default one-line grid. You do still have the ability to make custom grids. That is going to be done in the upper left-hand corner here. If you see a grid that has some cool, nifty looks to it and has some items on it, and you're like, well, how do I get that on my grid? That is going to be here in the Customize Grid icon. To access your custom grids and see what grids that you have available, in the View selector in the top center of the screen, you're going to see this item that says Grid. It's going to be noticed that it's highlighted in this teal blue color. Anywhere you see that teal blue color is going to be our focused view. So if I select the drop down next to the grid, we're going to see that we have the one-line grid here. We have remarks. There's a grid that you think should be showing, but you're not seeing it here on this list. Let's say you made a custom grid. It carried over from the old MLS to this one. If you're like, I want to see my custom grid, where did it go? Make sure to select the settings icon in the upper right corner of the dropdown. This will give you the list of available grids here. So if I want access to this cluster grid, I can actually select cluster grid, select the checkbox, to make it available. I can grab the arrow, resort the list. So if I want cluster grid at the top, I can click drag it up to the top. And I have the ability to set what grid I want to be the default anytime I hit the grid panel when I run my searches. So right now it's defaulting to that one line. We can set it to the cluster grid that we just enabled, or we can set it to the last selected grid that we used. So it doesn't always have to be the same one. It can be set to the last selected, but we're going to keep it as the one line grid. And now that the cluster grid is selected, I'm going to hit save. It will let you know the display settings have saved. And on the grid, in that top center view selector, if I hit that drop down, we now see the cluster grid available as an option. Before we just had the one line grid and remarks. Now we have the cluster grid. And selecting the cluster grid is going to bring you back to the search results. And you're noticing how it's dropping me all the way down. The last listing I had checked was the bottom listing. So the search results will always drag you back down to whatever listing you were focused on. You'll notice that it is highlighted in that teal blue color. So no matter which one you last select, the search will remember that and it will bring you back to that property. But now that we have the cluster grid enabled, you can see that the grid does look a little different. It has these cluster fields in the grid. The cluster fields are new with MLS 11. These are meant to have more information in one little zone of tile space. So you'll notice like here, we have the square foot per square lot size all in one field. You have the bedroom, bathroom, the subtype code and description all in one field. So it makes the grid have more info in a smaller space. It allows you more condensed and easy to read layouts. I can check listings off immediately on any of these grids, and I can actually print them right away if I want to print out the grid results. Throughout this presentation, we're going to be touching on how to print out multiple displays reports, how to print this grid. Anytime that I mention printing, the place that I'm going to go to will never change. It's always going to be the same, and that's always going to be in the upper right-hand corner of MLS 11. You will always have a printer icon up here. If I hover over it, it will say preview/download. This is where you're going to go to print. No matter what you're trying to print reports, you're trying to print a map report, you're trying to print grids, it's always going to be located in the top right corner of the screen. That's its home. That's where the print function will always be. Selecting the dropdown next to print will give you the available options to print on the grid. You can print the checked. You can print the checked without the grid border. You can print all your results or all the results without a border, or you can make a presentation package. We are going to touch on presentation package at a later point. This is where you're going to print multiple displays and reports. It's a question that we get a lot about MLS 11 is how to print multiple displays. Anytime you want to do that, presentation package is your best friend. That is where that feature is done. But for now, we're just going to print the checked grid option. Selecting that, it will let you know it's going to prepare our download, and it will quickly bring us into the print grid screen. We'll give you a preview of what you're printing. And once you're in the print preview, it will always be, once again, top right, print is your best friend. The print icon will be located in the upper right-hand corner. You do have the available option to also download whatever display report grid you're trying to print out. You do have the option to download it as a PDF, email it out that way, save it to your desktop, transfer it via USB. Anything you'd like, you can just download the file as well. We're going to close out of the print preview. And to email out the listings, the email icon, also top right, located next to the printer icon, it looks like a little letter envelope. That is going to be where you could go to email out your listings. When selecting the letter icon, will give you the two. You can add the CC contacts. If you want to blind CC somebody, you can. You can select a report. We are adding the future option to print out email multiple reports here. Right now it is just the single report, but you will have the ability to print and email out multiple here. You can add the subject for the email, and then you have your default signature and the option to send a blind copy. Close this here. Phil, I do want to move into displays and reports. Are there any questions on the grid functionality or printing?
Just one quick question. So a lot of people like your grids here. And one thing I just want to point out, I know you mentioned this, but the little gear icon to the
Yes.
far left, So if there's a field or a column that you would like added to one of your grids and you're not seeing it, this is where you would go to do it. You would go into your custom grid, and then from there, you'll get the list of available fields you could add on the left, and then the fields that are already on your grid on the right-hand side. So you could go in, customize your grids, create as many grids as you like directly from here.
And something I do want to add to this is the cluster fields are new to MLS 11. You're going to see them highlighted right here in yellow as I click on them under the selected field section on the right-hand side. You'll see they're prefixed with the word cluster. While you're inside this area, if you're making your own grid, customizing a new one, copying one, if you hit Control F or Command F on your browser and you type the word cluster into the find box that appears, you will get anywhere cluster shows. It will highlight in yellow. And I can actually go through and it will jump the available fields to the rest of the cluster options. So you'll see here on the left, it's not just the two on the right that I had present. There's many others that you can experiment and play with on your own grids. You have things like address, city, area combined together, agent office info, listing, status price, days on market. These clusters are all available, and you can just throw these on the grid. So your whole grid could be clustered fields and everything else could be removed if you chose to have it that way. That is available and present for you. I'm going to go back to lists here. Were there any other questions, Phil, before I get to the next part?
I think we're good for right now. RJ, you got one?
Seeing a few more in there. I don't know if you want to take them now or slide them till later, depending on how you're doing the presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll hit the here. We'll hit the those in a minute. We do have one about standard views and displays and available reports. And we're going to get into that one in just a minute.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Awesome.
All right. Go ahead, Wyatt.
All right. No, you're good. Moving on to this next part, what I want to highlight for you guys is just the displays and the reports. We took a look at the grid. We've gone through what you can do with the action pane in the grid, kind of how to change the grid printed out. But a lot of people use, displays, reports, printing out multiple displays, sending them to their clients, having them out in their office, just however you want to do that. There's two ways to quickly jump to displays and reports. The first being in the display button on the view selector in the top middle of the screen. You'll notice to the right of the highlighted teal grid option, you'll see displays. Selecting displays is going to immediately rotate the grid into the display system. And you're going to notice that action pane that I talked about, how it doesn't change or move, is going to be statically. It's going to be here the same way as it was before. And if I hop back to grid, it's easy as just clicking grid at the top. So you can jump just seamlessly back and forth between the grids and the displays. The second way to hit the display is if I went through my listings and I saw a listing, let's say this focused one right here that I liked, just selecting the listing number on the grid, no matter where you are on the grid, will jump you to that property in the displays as well. So those are the two quick ways that you can jump back and forth between the grid and the display. And in the display view, there's a few things that are different for MLS 11, and it's just meant to also just kind of speed up and save you time and convenience. You have on the left-hand side of the screen the properties listed out with a property pin card that you can just select and tab through. You're going to notice that as I select these property pin cards, they'll move out to the right. They'll kind of scoot themselves over. Whichever property pin card that I'm selected on that's scooted out to the right, it's going to have this teal color rectangle around it. That is our focus listing. That's what we're currently viewing in the system. So if you take a quick glance at the left-hand side, you know immediately this is the property that you're looking at. This teal color always represents the focus view. Once again, in that view selector in the top center of the screen, displays are highlighted in teal as well. So the system's letting you know, hey, you're no longer on grids, you're over on displays. The property pin card has quick information accessible right away, like things like the price, the address, the bedroom, bathroom, square footage. That will always be present easily and accessible right on the cover of the pin card. You have quick link options and icons right below the pin card to view the display, which we are currently doing. You can quickly view the photos for the listing and view the property on the map. You can view the property history, can view the documents for the listing, view the tax information. The listing had virtual media. You can view that here. You can select the share options. And if it was your listing or you were able to edit manage your listing, you would have that option available present to you here as well. I do want to quickly touch on this tax for the listing. You're going to notice that this $ will take you out to the tax info. It's located here on the left-hand side of the screen. However, if you remember back to the beginning of the lesson here, on the action pane on the right-hand side, you have the view tax record information available as well. You're going to see that same $. These are the same exact links. They have the same function. They're just located in each place to save you time and convenience without having to drag your mouse over from one side of the screen or the other. The reason I say that is the MLS 11 search is done in a way that if you, let's say you have your left hand on the up and down arrows on your keyboard, you can press them. You'll notice my mouse is over here just circling, but I'm still going down through these records. So you can arrow through and quickly jump, and you'll notice the search will scoot down as you go through. And I can keep my mouse hovered over the icon I want to view. So for example, if I go down and I want to view the photos, I can just quickly click the photos. And now you're jumped into the photos. The screen and the search hasn't changed. We're now kind of rotating through. If I want to go back to the display, you can quickly hit these links here. So that's what those icons are for. They're meant for people that get used to how the search flows. They get the muscle memory down of the MLS 11 search and they want to quickly access info. That's what those icons are for. To change the display that you're viewing right here in the center of the screen, just as we did with the grid, to the right of the display option, you do have the drop-down that will show you the list of available displays. If there's a display that you think you should be seeing and you're not seeing here, a display or report, make sure to hit the settings gear icon in the upper right-hand corner. It will present you with a list of reports here. So you can kind of go through and see which ones would be available or not. You can select the default display report, just as with the grid. There's a display report that you want to use. You can hit the last selected or set others to the default. Changing the display and report is as easy as hitting the drop-down arrow and jumping down to the next report. So we can select from here the client listing detail, and it will immediately take me out to the next display. These displays are fully interactable. For example, if you see anywhere with a blue hyperlink on the display, the email me, view map, view all, view media. If you want to view it on Google Maps, you can select the view map icon. It will take you out to the exact property location on Google Maps. And close that. You do have the ability to view the pictures directly here. However, if we want to view the photos, you can just select the photo option in the view selector. But before jumping into the photos and how you can view multiple documents and stuff, I want to show you guys how to print out multiple of these displays. You know, that's been a big kind of point that people have wanted to see how that's done. So we're going to jump back to the full listing detail display.
Hey, Wyatt,
Oh, yes, go ahead.
it's Hud. I just wanted to thank you for the training so far. It's great. Just one quick point that is important to mention to our SFAR agents is that you will be starting with the top 5 displays. So the ones that have already been, and if you wouldn't mind clicking on that, those are the ones that you are going to be starting with, and they've already been reimagined by an MLS and Tech subcommittee, as well as the Rapattoni team. And as what has been shown, you can then add your legacy reports, but just know that those have not been rebuilt, and they haven't been rebuilt because what we did is we looked at the usage stats, and the usage stats clearly showed that these 5 reports are the ones that are most utilized. Thank you, Wyatt.
Oh, yeah, of course. All right. Just to kind of really highlight on how to print out multiple displays and reports. Once again, when we were on the grid, I showed you guys how to print that grid, and we used the print button in the upper right-hand corner. This is not going to change with this. It's always going to be upper right. Upper right for printing is your best friend. That printer icon has not moved. It has not changed. It will always be there. So that drop down arrow, once again, you have the ability to just print immediately the focus listing. Once again, the focus listing is the listing that is kind of scooted out to the right-hand side in that teal highlighted rectangle. That is the focused view listing. So if I hit focused, it will just immediately print the report for whatever we're focused on. The checked option is going to print out just the kind of displayed report that for the check listings I have on the left-hand side. If I want to print out the display for all my results, all 73, I can do that. I can hit the all button and get the report printout for all 73 listings. But the one I want to touch on for this, once again, multiple reports, print out multiple displays. That is all done. The presentation package is your best friend for that. We're going to select the presentation package. You're going to get the create presentation package screen here. This is where you can select multiple displays for the listings that you want to print. So for example, for displays, if we hit that drop down, we can select multiple displays that we want to print. So I can select the full listing detail. I can select the client listing detail. Here, when the displays are listed out, if I want to change the order that they're printed out in, I can click and drag if needed by selecting the left click, dragging down just like you're moving an app on your home screen on your cell phone. You can just resort as easy as that. You can collapse the display menu and select the grids. Here we can add the grids. So like that cluster grid that I printed out prior, that one line grid, you can select the grids that you want to add to the print package. So not only will this allow you to print multiple displays / reports, you do have the ability to add grids to this. If there's a specific document that you would like to print, that is available in the list of documents. If these listings, if you were trying to compare, you knew these 3 properties had floor plans that you wanted to add to your printout, you can select floor plan. And if that document type is attached to those properties, it will print those out as well. And then under other, you have the ability to add agent office info to the printout, history, the map report, neighborhood report, pictures. So anything that you want to kind of tie into this print package is going to be available under these blue rectangles. These drop downs will give you the options that you'd like. Once you have your print package ready, you've got this list sorted the way that you want to print it out. You can select create package on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. This will say the package will be ready shortly. Please check the notification center momentarily for the package link. And you're going to see a little example breakdown here with the little meeple and the orange notification bell right next to the log off button. That is giving you example of the top right of the screen here. You will get a presentation package ready. This will pop up. Please keep in mind, if you make a huge printout with like 10 different reports for 100 listings and the system's generating that report for you, you can continue to use the MLS. You don't have to sit here and wait for it. This is something that will pop up no matter what page you are on in the MLS system. It will just let you know, hey, you know what, your report's ready. You can close out of here. And then in the upper right, you'll notice that the bell now, the number ticked up from 1 to 2. If we select the bell in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to get a presentation package ready symbol in yellow. But I'm seeing 2 of them. And I'm going, well, which one did I just make? Because they both say ready, they both say new. The one that I just made will have a timestamp on it. You'll see the time that you created it. You'll notice that this one was made in October. So that's not the one we just did, but they both say new. You want to make sure that you're verifying the right package by looking at the timestamp. And when you've found and located the correct package that you want to print out, we're going to hit View Package, this blue option at the bottom of the little timestamp. That will open up in that same print preview that we saw our grid. We're going to get the multiple display printouts here as well. You'll get a preview of the displays and the properties listed on the left-hand side. And as you scroll down, you'll see you'll have that full agent display. And then going down, we'll hit that client display for the multiple properties. So you'll see each report selected, followed by the printing checked out here. And we did add the grid to this printout. So at the very bottom, that's where we had it set on the printout. the grid will be available for those 3 properties as well. So the print package is where you're going to go create how many displays you want to print out, how many different versions of it you want for each selected property. If you want to add the grids, documents, agent info, it will all appear here in the package viewer on the left-hand side. And then once you're satisfied with the printout package that you want to print, once again, top right is your best friend for printing. That is going to be here as well. And you do have these availability in the presentation package to download, view, save these as a PDF as well. So you have both options present here, but that is all accessible once you're in this kind of package viewer. And close this out here. When you're done printing out your print package, you will be taken back to this screen, and then you can just hit close in the upper left-hand corner. So that will take you back directly to the MLS 11 search results, exactly where you hit that print button initially. We are now back into the displays and the reports. I do want to jump into photos and the map view. Phil, are there any questions just on displays reports?
Let's see here. So we did have a question from Laura in regards to yes, displays. Okay, so down at the very bottom, Wyatt, when you were emailing, can you go down to the public public links?
Right here?
So yes. So Laura, this is the public link. So when Wyatt clicks that, it's going to open up a URL. So the listing he's on, he could take this URL and embed it into an email if he'd like. Just exactly what you were looking for. So if you don't see that public link, just scroll down. You could add it to your favorites, but this is where you'd be able to copy the hyperlink of your listing and just include it in one of your emails.
And the public link by default is located at the bottom of the View Manage Listing section in the action pane. That's the first section that normally appears. And I did add it to my favorites, and that's something that I did forget to point out. If you do add a link to your favorites on your action pane on the right-hand side, it will not remove it from its default location. So there will be both. You'll have it in the favorites. As you can see, View Public Links is in my favorites. And below, under the View Manage Listing section, where the View Public Links is defaulted location, that's where it will also be. So same button, just it will repeat in your favorites for convenience.
Excellent. Thank you, Wyatt.
And was there any more, or was that the last one there?
That was it.
Awesome. All right. To jump into photos for a listing, I know I touched on it earlier. We use the icon on the listing property pin card on the left-hand side. We have the little photo icon here. We can select that button, and then it will take us to the MLS 11 gallery view, and we can tab through the property pin cards by selecting or using our mouse, and it will immediately update the gallery view to reflect that the property that's in the focus view. And you can jump back to displays again by hitting the little house icon on the left-hand side. You can also select the picture icon in the top center in the view selector. We're on a property that we're interested in seeing the photos of, and our mouse is already in the top center of the screen, right next to that teal focused display button. I can just hit pictures, and you're going to notice that the teal will jump over to the picture section. It will let us know that this is where you're looking at in the system. You can scroll through the gallery just with the scroll wheel right in the center of the search results. We can select one of the photos. Will take us to a zoomed in carousel view, and we can then select the arrows on the right and left side of the photo to get a more kind of zoomed in look. And selecting the photo one more time will kind of fill up the whole center of the screen there, so you can really take a nice close view of the photo. Selecting the X in the upper right-hand corner will zoom you back out to the full MLS 11 gallery view. And we can jump back up and see whichever kind of result that we'd like. I do want to point out that the virtual media link, if there is virtual media in the view selector, it will take you out to the page that the virtual tour is located on and so forth. I know we are working on an update for MLS 11 that will allow the virtual media to appear directly in the center of the search results, as you see the gallery here. And same with documents. If there are multiple documents today on this listing, Selecting documents in the view selector will display them, and you can just immediately tab through each one at the bottom of the screen. I know that some documents have some private and sensitive info, so we just want to make sure not to display any of that. But if you do select the document info here, it will take you directly to the center, and it will have multiple documents listed out that you can select through without leaving the MLS 11 search. So if you're kind of diving through, really looking for different document types, I do suggest giving that a shot, seeing how that looks. And then using the map feature, the MLS 11 search has part of the integrated map directly implanted into the MLS 11 search system. So if I hit map while on this property record card, the center of the search is going to take up with an overlay of the kind of aerial view of the map. You're going to get the property pin card that we have in our focus view pop up here in the center. If I tap the property pin card on the left one more time, though, it's going to snap me down directly into a street view. And you can jump between property pin cards, and you'll notice that the map is going to update almost immediately to the next location of that property. This map is fully interactable as well. So in the top center of the map, you're going to see like you have access to your layers. You guys use layers a lot in the interactive map. Those layers are also available here in the MLS 11 system. So I can select layers. I can open up parcels. I can select the parcels layer. The parcels are going to immediately apply to the map in the background. So I can close out the layer menu. I can then move down to the next property, and you're going to see that the layer is still applied. I still have access to the tax info directly on the map, and I didn't have to reapply the layer. I didn't have to open back up a new tab, run a new search. Just jumping back and forth between the layers of the tax info records and the parcel dimensions will still stay. I can even just hold control, click on multiple of the parcels directly within the MLS 11 system, and it will get the parcels in a list here available and ready for me. I can hit the print labels option in the top center, and it will immediately take me out to print out the labels for like a mailing campaign, and it will be in that 501 Avery format already, so you don't have to resize or change it. It will be ready to go directly just from MLS 11. So you have access to a lot of information in the layers here, and it is all available. You don't have to rerunning the search, keep reapplying layers. They will stay available and ready depending on kind of what you apply. And you can uncheck the layer as well by going back to the layers option, deselecting, and now we're back to that default map view. You can even use the little Google person, the little meeple. You can drag in the meeple here, and you can plop him down on the map, and you directly have access to a street view right away. So if you want to view a street view directly within the MLS 11 search system, you have the ability to do so that way. And then the next final piece is going back to the aerial view. If you're done kind of looking at that street level and you want to go back to that aerial view that we saw at the beginning, in the upper right-hand corner of the map, you do have the drop down, and it will say all listings. If I hit all listings, it will take me back to that aerial view, and then I can start zooming in and scrolling in, clicking on the property records I want to see. And you'll notice that if I just select a random property pin, it will adjust the search results on the left-hand side to be the focus view. And then we can jump to the displays of that listing. Now we're just bouncing back and forth in the convenience of not having to rerun the search. We don't have to reopen the displays. Everything is just automatically going to jump into the focus view no matter what you're selected or clicking on. And then you'll be able to kind of further explore or print out email from there. I do want to jump into hot sheets, Phil. Were there any questions on the map or anything?
Yeah, can you show them, if you could go back to the map and just show them where you went to do the mailing campaign again, locate the labels.
Oh, yeah, of course. So when we'll actually go to the map from this side. So when you're on a property and you want to start like a mailing campaign from that point, you can actually click the view map on the left-hand side here as well. That will jump you to the street level view. And to add the parcels for the labels and print out like that, we're going to go into the top center of the MLS 11 map here. You'll see this layers icon. I'm going to highlight it over for a second. It will highlight in that yellow color. Selecting layers gives you this pop out. This is what it will look like the first time you select it. It will be this collapsed layer information list. The top option will say parcels. We're going to expand parcels by hitting the plus. This will give you options like parcel, parcel acres, address, etc. listed down. All you have to do is select the top option, parcels. That will highlight the tax record parcel IDs on the map. You can close out the layer by hitting the close little pop-out tab. And from here, all I'm doing is I'm holding Control, and if you're on the Mac, I think it's Command. And then I'm going to click on the record parcels here. And you're going to notice that as I select them while holding Control, you're going to see the selected parcels on the left-hand side fill up. Once you have the selected parcels that you need in this list, at the top center of this list, you're going to see a print labels icon. I'm going to highlight over that. I won't go away for that for a second. That is going to highlight in yellow as well. And selecting print labels once you've selected multiple parcels is going to take you out to the tab where you can print it out. And it's in that Avery format already. And that's how you're going to do that for like a mailing campaign or so forth. That is all done once again in the map view in MLS 11. This is also available in your interactive map search, but was added into MLS 11 for you as convenience, just so you can do this all in one place. It is under the layers option, parcels, and then you can select the multiple check parcels there and then print out that Avery format.
Excellent. Thank you, Wyatt.
All right, you're welcome. I do want to touch, I'm going to go back to the home dashboard here. I do want to touch on hot sheets for you guys. The hot sheets in the MLS 11 search system do have a different visual look. It's a very nice visual breakdown of change types that people search on. Once again, just as we did with the regular search, if there's a hot sheet search that you're running every day and you run it a lot or you have it saved, we can just run the recent hot sheet. We're going to go back to a very similar view that we had when we ran our initial search with the grid. There is a few differences though. It's going to say hot sheet search results, going to let you know that you're viewing the hot sheet here. You are going to automatically be grouped by change type, which you will see broken out by change type new listing here. Going down, you'll see change type price increase. So you'll see the search result broken down. And just as it was with the original standard search, this is one continuous scroll. So if this was like 400 listings, you wouldn't have to tab through multiple pages. You would just have it all available. However, with the hot sheet, if we move to the displays at the view selector in the top center, this is where the hot sheet shines in MLS 11 because you get a really nice breakdown visually of the change type. On the left-hand side, you're going to see this new listings bar above the property pin card. If I select this big blue bar, it's going to collapse the section. These are like tabs that are expandable, and you can kind of jump between the different change types by selecting the dropdown. Just tapping the pin card, it will immediately update the display that you're viewing. You can go down and view the contingents, and you can keep expanding these and jumping through to different sections. If you want to jump directly to a section at the top, let's say you had a huge amount of results and you were scrolling through and you kind of lost where you were, you can just jump immediately to price increases. It will collapse all the other sections and open up the price increase section. If you've expanded a lot of these as you've gone through your workday and the list is really long and you just want to start over, you don't want to sit here and reopen these or recollapse them all again, you can just go to the top center of the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see this little book icon with an arrow in the center. It says collapse all sections. So if I hit that, it will snap everything back down into this kind of visual broken down view. And then I can go through and start expanding and jumping to whichever section that I'd like to see. The final piece I want to touch on is you can kind of make this workspace kind of cleaned up. If you get muscle memory, you start learning what these icons do in MLS 11. You familiarize yourself with the system, it becomes very comfortable for you. In the right-hand side of the screen and the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see these little arrows that say, this one says collapse panel, and it's pointing to the right side of the screen. If I move my mouse over to the left, you're going to have a arrow set pointed to the left side of the screen that says collapse this panel. So what happens when we select that panel is it's actually going to shrink down the property pin cards to be nice little photo thumbnails. And if I select the right side collapse panel, we're going to get the same icons that we had before. However, they are now going to be just symbols. It's the same functionality, but if we memorize what these symbols do and kind of where we are, this makes for a much kind of cleaned up workspace. And an advantage of this is if I wanted to zoom in, we're going to use that zoom function that we did at the very beginning of the webinar on the grid. I'm going to select the magnifying glass on the right side of the action pane. We're going to zoom into this display really far. We're going to zoom in so much that it might get cut off, but we don't want it to be cut off. We want to see the whole thing. If we collapse the pane on the top section, now the display takes up the whole center of the screen. It's not being cut off anymore. I can zoom in and really see a lot of information as I go down through the property. So this is a way to really zoom in, push the stuff off to the side so you can focus on what's in the center of the screen. That does not have to stay that way. That can just be for maybe one or two things that you work on. You do not have to always have it collapsed or expanded, but you can set it that way. And to change the settings of the MLS 11 panels, it's going to be located in the top right of the screen. You're going to see a white settings gear icon. Selecting that will allow you to change the theme of MLS 11. If you like a dark mode theme, you can switch it to dark mode. If you want to change the default view that we ran our searches on, today, every time I ran the search with you guys, it landed on the grid, and then we moved to the displays. But if you want to start on the displays, you do have the option to have it start on the displays, pictures, map, document, etc., or the last selected. And then finally, the listing pane and action pane settings. This will allow you to choose how you want them to be either expanded or collapsed, how we just went over, or last selected. So if I leave it as last selected and I collapse the panes, the next time I go back into MLS 11, they will be collapsed and vice versa. So that's where these settings are done. Once again, that is going to be located in the upper right-hand corner with the settings gear icon. Did I have any questions, Phil, on the hot sheets? I think that was everything I wanted to mainly cover. I know that we can open it up for a Q&A section.
Okay.
To cover any questions.
The one question we did have, not in regards to hot sheets, but if you could show them how to add the parking fields to your grid, just go through the adding of a field from start to finish.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people loved your grid there.
Oh, yeah, of course. So I'm just going to go back to the search that we used before. This can be any search. It doesn't matter how you guys run your search. I'm going to go through my recent searches. We're going to go back to the grid here. The way that I created, I know Phil mentioned that you guys like the cluster grid. The way that I started with that is I was at the one-line grid. I started with what you're seeing right here. And to create the custom grid I did off of this, we're going to hit the left-hand side of the screen, the settings gear icon. If I hover over it, this is the customized grid wheel. We're going to select this customized grid icon. This is going to take us into the available fields and selected fields. However, we're on the one-line grid, and you're going to know what grid you're on based on the highlighted name up here on the top left. We want to copy what's on this grid, but we want to change it. We want to customize it to what we want to see. So we're going to hit the copy option in the blue action bar in the top left side of the screen. This is what you want to hit first if you want to start with kind of a basis and then make changes to it. This is what I did for that grid. So we're going to select copy. It will come up with the grid name. So we're going to call it Wyatt's grid. We're going to select OK. The system will refresh the page. Here we are now working on Wyatt's grid. So in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see the name change. Now we're editing our custom grid, and it copied the fields that were on the one-line grid here. But now I can change what I'm looking at. I can add and remove things. So for example, if I want to add a photo to this grid, I can hit Control F or Command F. We'll bring up the find function in the browser. I can type in photo. On the left-hand side in the available fields, you're going to see this thumbnail picture, this photo option will appear. And I want that on my grid. So I'm going to select it on the left-hand side, and we want it near the front of the grid. The grid is broken down, as you can see on the right here, 10, 20, 30, 40. It's broken by increments of 10. So I want to add it in between the number and the origin. For example, let's say we want it there. So I'm going to say add at 20. So I want it to be the second thing to show. So I'm going to hit add at 20. I'm going to hit add. You're going to notice that that thumbnail, that highlighted thumbnail on the left-hand side, is now jumped over to the right-hand side, and it's here on the right. However, you know what? I realized I want it as the first thing. I don't want the listing number first. I want that thumbnail photo first. So how do we move it now that it's here? All you have to do is select it. Then there's this move up and down feature in the center of the screen. We can hit move up, and you'll notice that the thumbnail jumped up, moved up above the listing number. Now I want to add cluster grids to my custom grid, one of those cluster fields. Once again, using that Control F, the find feature, I can type cluster and then hit the down arrow. And here we are now back to all those cool cluster fields that we saw. I can go ahead, I can add the address city. We're going to add it, let's say we can add it at 30. I can hit add. And it will start adding these fields over to the right based on the increment of 10 position that you select. So as I go through these cluster fields, as I add these into the system, and I keep scooting down the increment of 10, you'll see that the clusters are starting to hop into the right-hand side. And if I want to clean this up, let's say I just want the photo, the listing number, and the cluster fields, I can actually go in and select the remove option. You can actually just start clicking fields and removing them off my grid. If you want them all gone, you can hit remove all, and it will reset the grid back to kind of this default display. What I want to show you guys is as you go through and remove, you'll see that the grid automatically shrinks. And I want to show you that you can even have it with just a few select fields. So if we just want to see those cluster fields, you can actually make a grid with just the cluster fields here. So
and I'm sorry, White, can you add in the parking field as well, please?
I can, yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to add, and oh, just to give you an example, if I don't choose where to add, let's say I don't put in a numerical value into the center. If I select a field and I hit add, it will just add it automatically to the bottom. So you can just click a field on the left and hit add. You don't have to type in the number each time. And then from there, you can move the position and stuff. And I apologize, Phil, you said parking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I want to add parking, I'm going to use that Control F feature. I'm going to search parking. We're going to notice that we got 8 results where parking shows up, and you can tab through. And now you have all those parking fields here present and available. So I can go ahead. I can select parking and I can add these all. And I have it set at add 40. So you're going to see how they're jumping in where 40 would be, and they're pushing down the other fields. So you can add this in directly however you would like. And then once you have this set in stone, let's say I want the clusters to show first. You can select the clusters, move them up by selecting the center. We have all of our parking fields available to us now. We have the grid exactly how we'd like. I'm actually going to unselect the quick icons here to make it an even cleaner look. Once we have everything set the way we want, in the blue action bar in the top side in the left-hand corner, I'm going to hit save. This will let me know that my changes have been saved. You'll see that here in the center of the screen. And then I can hit back to list. This is going to take me back to the grid. You're going to notice, well, that doesn't look like what I just made. That's taking us back to that default one-line grid. From here, we can select the drop-down arrow and the view selector in the top center of the screen. And you're going to see that custom grid that I just made, the Wyatt's grid, now present on that list. I can select Wyatt's grid. Now the grid updates. Now we have these cluster fields that are available on the grid that I added. And scrolling to the right, if there is parking information, parking fields, you're going to see that information located here, filled out. So that is how you create a custom grid. That is how you go in and change it. You can actually change the size of the grid by clicking, holding, and dragging the field. You can actually shrink it down if you would like to get an even cleaner look. But that is how that is done. Once again, the grid custom grids are made using the grid icon feature in the upper left-hand corner, the customized grid. That is available. All right, was there any other questions, Phil?
All right. And now, so we do have a few questions in regards to just the grids itself. So um, there is a set of default grids available in your MLS, but again, like Wyatt was showing, the grids are customizable and different per user. So anyone could go in, create as many grids as you like, modify the grids as you like, and add or include any field as you. So um, Wyatt's grids and what you see on his grids won't be the same as yours, simply because it's fully customizable per user. And now we did have a separate question in regards to Google Earth. Let me see here. Wyatt, can you go back to the map and go to the print directions?
Yeah. Here. I'm just going to check off these three, like the map report.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to this map view here. We're going to select a pin card. It doesn't matter which one you're on. I checked the top 3 listings of this search result. And something that I want to point out is the printer icon, once again, in the top right, it's always going to be there. Selecting the printer icon when you're on the map, it's going to say preparing download. It's going to print out a map report immediately. I'm not going to have to adjust anything. Anywhere that you have checked properties in your search, will place them on a map and it will give you a quick little grid breakdown of those properties. So that is going to be, once again, when you're on the map anywhere in the MLS 11 system and you have checked properties in the upper left-hand corner of the property pin card and you hit the printer icon, it will prepare the download. It will pop you out to that map report. And then it does have the same option to print physically or save as a PDF as well in the top right.
Excellent. And Dustin, is that what you were talking about there with the Google Maps?
No, what I was talking about is when you're on the street view or when you're looking at anything that actually has Google. But if you clicked on the street view right there for that property, Wyatt. Anytime you're looking here where you're on our street views or any of our views here, they're using Google. You'll have a view in Google Maps. If you click on that, that'll open up Google. That's not Google Earth. Google Earth is its own platform where you kind of have, it looks like you have APIs and stuff.
Yes,
but
it did take me
this
out
might
to,
be what you were looking for, where it takes you to Google. It actually opens the property in Google.
and that also, the other thing was that client display has a view on map that does link you out to Google as well.
That was it. I'll hand it back to you, Wyatt.
Awesome. What was the next one, Phil?
Okay, let me see here. Now there is another question about custom report formats for offices. Now, let's see here, John, if you need help with this, feel free to give our help desk a call. But Wyatt, can you go into the admin custom report writer? So the custom report writer here, it really depends on your access rights though. But if you have office manager broker rights, you'll be able to go in here and create displays and or reports and publish those to your office. So this is a way you can go in, create custom displays and have it all standardized and available to your members within your office. And if you need help getting this all set up and started, feel free to give us a call and we'll be more than happy to walk you through it.
I'd also give a plug for San Francisco MLS team. They're always available to help you with any of these questions as well.
Phil?
All right. So I'm reading the questions here, and I think we covered all of them. Mainly in regards to the grids and how to add parking.
All right.
Awesome.
Gentlemen, actually, I had a question. I wasn't quite sure how to phrase it. Going back to the, pardon me, the action pane when you were showing so the eyeball to hide the unchecked.
Yes, yes, sir.
So I select whatever number of items I want to have a specific view on. I hit the eyeball. I'm in my particular view. As I toggle between different display formats, let's say I go from that to full agent detail, will that maintain the hidden items from display view to display view?
Yeah, so here, let me jump into like a client listing detail. So here, I apologize, I didn't point it out. Let me go back to the grid. I'll start from the beginning. So when I'm on my grid and I've got my 3 properties checked here at the top, and I move over to the top right of the action pane, and we have that hide unchecked feature. You can select that here. We're going to drop it down. So now we just have the 3 that I checked in display. If I move to displays in the view selector while I'm in this filtered view, you're going to notice if I try to scroll up and down on the left-hand side here, there are no more displays, excuse me, no more properties showing because they are hidden. And to kind of further that point, if I jump to the next display, so if I'm in the client display that way and I go to full listing detail, it is remembering and keeping that filter in place. I cannot
Okay.
scroll through, I cannot move and jump down. So you'll see here that hide unchecked is still checked. And unchecking it, no matter where you are or what display that you uncheck that filter at, it will allow you to like go back through the rest of the properties here.
Thank you. You anticipated my next question. That's fabulous.
Right.
Thanks.
Were there, excuse me, were there any other questions? Let's see here. I believe we answered them all. RJ, HUD, Andrew, you guys have anything?
Wyatt, do you have another section to go through?
No, that was everything that I wanted to
Okay.
cover.
Yeah, that was,
It's going to be open for open.
It's pretty good,
questions
guys.
throughout this time.
I don't think we have anything on my side.
yeah, comprehensive. Well done, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Great job, Wyatt. Looks like we have one hand raised in there.
Except we're on a webinar, so we don't actually open up the mics. So continue to put, if you have a question, please drop it in Q&A. One final thing I'd let everybody know is we have another session in 2 weeks. Same place, same bat channel at 1 p.m. So please join us again if you'd like to. We're happy to have the Rapattoni team, the experts here to give these initial trainings, and then we'll be moving into additional, we'll do our own sessions in March, because as may or may not have been said at the beginning of this, on April 1st, this is the new view. So on April 1st, it's not an April Fool's joke. It's happening here at the MLS. So please do tell your friends, tell your neighbors, shout to the rooftops, get them into some of these sessions so that you can get these questions answered. Almost everything I saw here was just an opportunity with these questions. It's just mainly a configuration change. So, and this has been out in the wild now for, gosh, guys, how many, like 2 years or so that this has been, we've had eyeballs on MLS 11?
Yes. Yeah. And I really want to point out, this has been one of the products that we had a focus group for and had a full investment of a focus group participation. Then we opened it up to users for them to be invested in a pre-launch of beta. And then from there, opened it up to a free beta for everybody to participate in and add feedback. So this product is actually, you can attest, had who's seen this from the very beginning, like 2 years ago, it's changed a lot. It's evolved. And that's with feedback of us thinking we had it right and then not having it right and getting feedback and saying, no, do this better, and us adding that in. So we really appreciate it. We appreciate the feedback, and we'll keep it up.
Excellent. I think this is a really great place to wrap it up. And finally, this video will be edited and made available on our SFAR social channel, likely by tomorrow or at the latest by Wednesday. So you have an opportunity to revisit this content. Thank you to Rapattoni. Thank you to the MLS team for always being here and supporting our agents.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.